Hello, Leo. I'm Ulrich. I'm a Lenormand card reader, but this time we will use a financial deck for your card reading. This reading is done with 3 cards, which you see here in front of me. You also see 4 objects here on the table, meaning we will do 4 card readings for each astrological sign for the month of August 2021. And this video here is for Leo. From the 4 objects that you see here, you choose one or you pick one that you think relates most to your personality, or you choose one you feel most comfortable with. This object of your choice, it should or it will relate the best to your current financial situation or the advice that you are receiving from the cards. Of course, you can watch all 4 videos related to the Leo sign and then decide which object or symbol is fitting your personal card reading the best. The matches here represent the fire element. The aerosol sprayer represents the air element. The stone represents the earth element. And the shell represents the water element. So Leo, here we go for your card reading for August. Hello Leo, and welcome to the shell or the water group for the month of August 2021. You see the 3 cards here in front of me. I will give a short overview. The first card is about our mensuality or our monthly payments that we have and how to adjust to that. This is about the way we spend money and the bigger picture we get. And the last card is about good and bad debts we have around us. I go into the more details now. So as all of us, everybody pays certain monthly payments, such as small bills like telephone, internet services, insurances, magazine subscriptions, you know what I mean. But this card relates to if you pay attention, if these expenses increase. Sometimes people don't notice there are increases, not even major ones. Did you ever notice that your invoices increased with or without your consent? Because most companies don't even give you notice if they increase your additions. Normally, as a good informed consumer, you should notice these expenses on a regular basis. But this card tells you to pay attention to these adjustments, and also to pay attention to time-limited offers that you agreed with. Sometimes these expires, these promotions, and you come in a different category of payments. So this card tells you to check on your bills of your telephone, your internet, your insurance. Make sure that you have all the discounts and that things did not change without your consent. This is what this card tells you about. You also need to check your annual and monthly payments on your bank accounts. Check what is exactly happening. Related to bank accounts, this card tells you that you need to compare the rates of your current bank, because sometimes with this card, it's interesting to compare rates with several banks and also several credit cards. Some credit cards or some banks, they charge different interests than other banks. So overall, this means that there can be a substantial difference and a substantial saving for you in this card. If you compare and this makes you unhappy and you still want to go a better deal, nowadays what is possible is internet banking. Internet banks are more cheaper, and there are several solid banks that are supported by solid companies. And these internet banks, due to the fact that they have no offices, they are in general more cheaper. They have no staff, they have no buildings, they have no expenses. So you get my point. This is normally cheaper. Normally you have the only expense that you have with such companies is your cards and some very basic things. So this is what this card tells you: to review bank accounts, small payments that you made. If you notice that your bank is overcharging you, check if it's not cheaper to go to internet banking. So you need to reassess here with this card for your reoccurring expenses. Each small amount of saving will make a big difference at the end of the year. So you will be surprised, because it's not unusual that a company or a bank charges you on an annual basis. They charge you $200 to $500 a year, or 200 to 500 euro. These are not unusual expenses, because every time you withdraw money, you pay. So you need to check, and also your fixed payments. Make sure that you are aware of this. Then here, the next card is like a bigger overview. We need to get over our financial situation. So here, this card tells you to be aware of your general situation. You are the one who's in control. So you need to be the architect of your life. And if certain things in your life make you unhappy financially, you need to make adjustments. Of course, we are all sensitive for the external elements, as we know the impact of the virus had on us, on our lives. But these are unforeseen events, but they still have a severe effect on us. It has an influence on us. So maybe at this point, there's some management needed for your own accounts and for your money. So this card asks you to reflect. It asks you to note your impressions, what you like at your current condition, what you like to change. It's like this card asks you to make a list of your hopes, and then you connect that to a plan of action if you want change in your life. It's like it asks you to take a perspective, a view from higher up, how you can achieve and how can you improve yourself more and better. It asks you to be aware of your situation and think if there are certain situations that you don't like, to adjust those to improve your existence. Then the last card we come here, this is about good and bad debts, and it's related to banks again. So what does this mean? Well, you have probably heard from good and bad debts. This is about that. What is a good debt? Well, a good debt is a debt on your house. For instance, if you have a debt on your house, you have a mortgage. This mortgage will make this property your own if you keep paying, and eventually one day it's yours. Meaning you pay interests on this. Sometimes these interests, no matter if you pay them or not, you pay them in your account. But the point here is what you pay, you gain back. Why? Because your property, it goes up in value every year, especially now with these economical hard times. Properties are very in demand and the prices go up. So also connected to this, because it's sometimes economically difficult, banks review rates. So if you are in a fixed pattern of your mortgage and you pay every month the same for a period of 20 or 30 years, sometimes when the times economically get worse, the interest drops. So you need to check, tells this card, with your bank if your interest did not drop. Meaning sometimes it's interesting to go to a specialist and let these loans rewrite. The rewriting costs you depending on the value of your property and the value of your loan. So if you rewrite these things, it costs you between $1,000 and $5,000 depending on the size of your property. But if you pay 1,000, you will gain 10 to 20,000 because of the rates that are dropped. So the money you get back on the long run. So you need to see in your bank if you cannot do an interesting business with that. Most banks will not make you aware of this. They just keep quiet and they say nothing if the interest rates drop. So you need to check if this is not a financial advantage for you at this case. The other side is, if this is on your, that is the negative side, we have bad debts, as they say. These are debts on credit cards. This card also tells you you need to check your credit cards. Maybe you work with some companies that are very flexible, but there is a big but here. Mostly these companies who are flexible with money, they charge enormous interest. So this card tells you to check on your payments of your interests if you go under zero, because maybe something is wrong there in that area. So this card tells you to check your accounts if you don't pay too much with certain credit companies that not are immediately connected to your bank. So double check this, because this is what this card also tells you. So the overview here, check your debts, check your banks, see if you cannot make profits with a change of interests in your bank. Here, try to get an overview over the bigger picture and check your small payments if you cannot make some adjustments there for gaining money. So Leo, this is all for this month for the Water Group. I hope you enjoyed this card reading. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning into my channel, and see you maybe next time. Bye-bye for now. Hello, Leo, and welcome to the Aerosol or the Air Group for the month of August 2021. We see the three cards here in front of us. I gave a quick overview. This is about the relationship, the things we see compared. We need to compare ourselves with others and situations of previous generations. The second card is a little bit similar. It's about certain heritage or certain money we can get and or property related to our parents or our ancestors. And the last card is the heavy card of the deck. It's about difficult financial situations we might be facing, or for some people here in this group, maybe even this represents a bankruptcy. So we go in the details now. The first card you see here is about our ancestors. So this card asks you to compare your situation where you are now with your ancestor, your grandparents, and if you're really so bad off. Meaning, at that times, these people lived with one salary. Maybe your grandparents lived with one salary and there were several children. So it was a tight budget and they don't have much room for playing. Meaning, once the salary was spent, it's finished. There were no credit cards. It was not possible to spend additional money. They earned and they spent what they had. So this card is also, it wants to position you where you are and see yourself where you are. Think about this situation and also think about the people around you who are in worse conditions. So this card tells you to put your feet on the ground and stop to think magical. This card is like that. You need to think how some people in what poor conditions some of us need to live. People who have no home, who have nothing at all, who live on the street. So this card tells you to compare your situation and be realistic about this. This is what this card tells you. Some people are in very unpleasant situations, and maybe, because I'm thinking here, there is something going on here. Maybe you yourself go towards an unpleasant situation, but this card tells you there is hope. You are still better off. This is what this card tells you. So it means that you still have comforts, that you still have a certain amount of protection here. You are still protected. You probably still have a home, and some of us don't have a home anymore. And compared to your ancestors, they had very few. So this card tells you to reflect about all of that, depending on your situation, of course. The next card is related to our inheritance or things we inherit from our parents. It also related if we have expectations to receive money from others. What does this card tells us? Well, this card tells us even if we are near to an inheritance or the inheritance is near our doorstep, we still need to think. In what way? Well, this card tells you not to be fooled. It's utopian and dangerous to rely on others' money or the inheritance of your parents. Also, you can incalculate this in your budget if you, for instance, if you pension, but you need to be aware that maybe some things are not as they seem. You have not read their will, and therefore you are not sure that you are their sole heir. You will be only be sure of this if the lawyer or the person in charge actually reads the will. And there we need to add the life expectancy of older people is going up in the last years, in a few decades, because we have more medication, we can keep ourselves healthier till a much older age. Also, probably they come in a certain condition, they need to sell their house, and then they need to pay for the services for their essential survival. And of course, you cannot blame them because it's their property and they work for it. And then we have the case that every person has the right to change their mind, to change their testimony at any time they are convenient. So this card wants to make you aware of that. And then we need to add a third thing. You are not aware of the fact that your mother or father will not succumb to the young Venus living next door or Cupid they met on the internet. And you are not sure they will not favor them in a part in expense of the descendants. So this card tells you to reflect. Plan your old days, plan your expenses, and don't depend on these things to come. If you do so, you will protect yourself and you will come out as a protected person, and as in a way you win if you protect yourself. The last card is a heavy card. It's the heavy card out of the deck. So there's something going on here with this group. So probably you're thinking a lot about your financial situation. Maybe there are severe problems with money. Maybe you come in a certain situation, in a deficit situation, and you have reached a point of no return. Sometimes this card tells us we need to go to a bankruptcy specialist or a person for helping us financially. Maybe we don't see a way out anymore. But this card also warns you. It warns you if you do so, this has consequences. It tells you to think before you sign this agreement, because this agreement will have consequences. So you need to consult more than a professional. You need to consult yourself and evaluate the choices that you will be making. This decision that you will make, it will have consequences. And maybe for some of these groups, these consequences will imply a radical change of lifestyle. And also it will have an effect on your consumption habits. If you did not reach that point and you're still able to get out, think about an immediate modification, because these cards work two ways. This is the last warning, or it means that you are already there. Maybe it's you who created the situation. Maybe it's factors, external factors that have brought you there. This card wants to warn you for avoiding hitting the wall. So this is a reflection on your general situation. So we reevaluate. Maybe you're in a severe situation and it's time to check what you can do. Don't rely on inheritance, because maybe some factors out of the inheritance play a role. So you keep in control yourself. And the last, we compare our situation where we are now. And in general, this card means you're still better off than others in your surroundings. So Leo, for the Aerosol or the air group, this is all for this month. I hope you like this card reading. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for doing so, and see you maybe next time. Bye-bye for now. Hello, Leo, and welcome for your financial card reading for the month of August 2021. This time we go for the stone or the earth group. I give a quick overview. The first card is the card here of evolution. It means that what we pay and the way we pay is changing in our life. Here, this is about you need to check things about your regular payments. I explain more later. And this is about that we need to be conscious with the money that we are spending. I go into details now. So the first card we see here, and we need to see that life is always evolving, and so are our expenses and the things how we spend. Decades are not the same. 20 years ago, you would not have you would have find it unusual to pay things that you pay now for certain services, and certain services did not even exist then. So today we spend more and our needs are increasing and there are different needs that we have. This card tells you that you probably, because that's why this card is here, you have some payments that you have that before were essential in the past, but today are no longer important. So maybe you need to do a review for what you actually pay. For instance, it could be like you have a landline and you no longer use your landline. It has no purpose for you. So every month you pay for this, but it has no purpose anymore for you. This is what this card is about, for small payments you make, for reviewing this and checking if this is really necessary. If it's not, you cancel it. Also, like for instance, if you are subscribed to TV channels or a general broadcaster, and you don't use, you catch yourself, you're always watching TV on the internet, you need to ask yourself if these expenses are really necessary. Since you're always watching TV on the internet, do you really need this connection? For instance, another example is if we have a newspaper, can we not read it online? Because mostly it's 50% or more cheaper for having the online version. So this card tells you if you have small expenses like that, stop these expenses and you will save money. Adjust your spending to the current times, things that you don't need anymore, get rid of them. The next card is a little bit in the same area. We have all small bills like telephone, like we just said, insurances, internet access. These expenses reoccur every month. It's the same expense every month. So we don't pay attention to these expenses anymore. And this card is actually an extension from the other card. So this card asks you, do you notice if there are increases in some things you pay monthly? Probably you don't notice, but mostly if we sign a contract, we agree that the company adjusts these expenses without our consent, because that is what you signed in the beginning. But a lot of us don't know this. So you need to check these monthly payments, because probably before you signed this in a promo time, and this promo is long expired. So you need to check it up, what you actually pay, and compare if you're not better off with other companies. It's called a silent agreement. So these companies, they are smart. So you need to check if you are still in a very good condition with this company or no more, or if it costs you more than it would cost with other companies. So you need to especially pay attention to time-limited discounts and keep track of these promotions. For instance, if you are not agreeing, you can call your internet company and see if there are new advantages or new discounts or something like that. If you have an insurance portfolio, check your broker also, because this applies also insurances, because there's a lot of difference, a big price difference in several brokers and several insurances. So this card tells you to double check all these things, because it means in somehow these two cards are related, that you can make a lot of savings with this. This is actually a gift you get here from the cards. Thirdly, this applies on banks. If you check your banks, you need to see and you need to compare rates and what you pay monthly for your banks. Some banks are overcharging, meaning your annual expenses, don't be surprised. Maybe you never check this, but you need to check what your bank is calculating you for your annual expenses. Don't be surprised if I tell you this is 200 to 500 euro or dollar a year minimum. Don't be surprised of that. That is what it is. It all depends, and it could be if you compare that there are other banks who give you the same services for half the price. This is what this card tells you. If you want to make a drastic change and you want to adjust to the times, what a lot of people do now is internet banking, meaning they still have their regular banks, but they just use for basic needs. So it means that they have no additional expense. They go to the internet banking. And why are the internet banks cheaper? Because they have no staff. They have no staff, but they have solid funds, so they are solid. There are a lot of safe internet banks here, and you can save a lot of money with these. You will see that in general cases, there you pay only your card and a very small minimum amount a year. There is a substantial difference, and you will save $300 to $500 a year if you check this. So this is what this card tells you. to check. And all these small amounts here, they will amount and they will make a big difference by the end of the year. So don't be surprised if you add all these expenses up and you save them, that you end up in the end of the year with $2,000-3,000 of savings. This would be no surprise here. So calculate your payments, your monthly payments, your small payments, whatever payments it is you make, and accumulate everything and double check. And this card is actually the confirmation of all this. It's 3 times, it's triple. There's no coincidence if it's 3 times. So this card tells you to be aware what you're doing. To take, you see the binoculars here, to take a big overview. It's like the eagle who flies in the sky, and you need to make an overview to advance in your life without that it costs you anything. This is what this card says. You need to transform the way you pay. You have the ability to do that, and you need to be re-architect your things. Else you will stay status quo, but this card tells you can improve actually without doing anything. You need to remanage your situation. You need to take time to reflect. You need to also, this card tells you actually to write it down. You need to write it down and note your impressions, what you don't like about your banks, your payments, your conditions. You make a list. You make a list with what was in the past and what is in the future, and what you don't like to pay and what you want to pay. It's like a list of hopes and a plan of action. It's like an action plan. So you need to take a step back. You need to make the overview and give yourself the gift of perspective. So this is what this card tells you. So you need to become of your general situation and make savings that are offered for you here in the cards. It will greatly improve your current condition. So Leo, for the Stone Group, this was a fairly positive reading for this month. I hope you enjoyed my card reading and you can apply these systems. Thank you for watching my video, and see you maybe next time. Bye-bye for now. Hello, Leo, and welcome to the matches or the fire group for the month of August, the financial card reading. I give a quick overview first. The first card here is our basic needs. We all have basic needs, and all our needs are specific for us, and they are in relation to the proportion, that everything here is relative, and you need to check the relativity of your own spending and your own needs. The last card here is about discounts that are offered to us and their real value, or if they are really discounts. I explain myself more in detail. So here, this is about the basic needs. We are all individual, we are all unique. We have different needs, but the essential needs for everybody stay the same. So the question that this card asks you, do you know your real needs? What you really need to survive? What is fundamental and what is optional? This card asks you to analyze your current situation and to distinguish yourself what is obligated to buy and what is your desire to buy. This card asks you to be fair and make a fair analysis of your situation. And you need to distinguish what is unnecessary for you. Things that you would have gone without them, were they there? Then, if this is the case, by eliminating these incidental purchases, you will be able to improve yourself financially. It's like a financial adjustment here that is requested from you. Unnecessary and luxury purchases, they have their place in your budget at the right time, at the right moment. But if you do this on a regular basis, this could cost you a lot of money that you actually don't want to spend and that you can use for other purposes. So this card tells you to be conscious and make a clear decision towards this. It tells you you will be very surprised what you save and how much more enjoyable your life will be. And if you buy certain luxurious things, when you wait the right time for them, you will enjoy these purchases more if you do them on a very strict basis. The second card is to put everything in proportions. It means that everything in life is relative. You need to put your salary, this card tells us, in perspective, in your own perspective. A monthly payment, for instance, for a person who lives in who lives alone and who has his monthly expenses, or a poor family who lives on one salary with a lot of children, the money has a very different impact. $2 for a poor family is very different than, for instance, €2 for a rich family or a high-yield family. It can mean the difference in extreme cases between eating and not eating for a poor family. But the rich family, they are different. So this is like, you need to put everything in context for yourself. For instance, many of us buy a computer, but the value of the computer for somebody who has a limited budget is not the same as for a person who has very high budget. So this is like for putting everything and for yourself in context of what you earn. It hopes you to find a balanced budget. Establish a relationship of your outflow and the money and your salary. This card tells you that it's you who's counting and who's in charge of proportions and balances. Ask yourself about the importance. What you spend, your disbursements, compared to your earnings. This card asks you to balance things. It asks you also, the tip that you get here is like, you take a piece of paper and you make categories of importance, you calculate your expenses, and you make important or less important categories, and you set priorities. Maybe there are some things that are out of proportion, and you can do some cutbacks there on things that are not really necessary, and you can actually focus on your real needs and advance if you adjust to this. In extreme cases, this card asks you if you're living beyond your means. Then the last card here, we have the deals. What are deals? Well, all of us, we catch ourselves that we like to buy things that are discounted. Sometimes we even check out the sections of liquidations in the hope to find a nice pair of shoes or a piece of clothing or some technical stuff or some things that we don't actually directly need. They are not basic needs, because this lane is about basic needs. You need to understand, this card tells you that every time you buy a discounted item, you only get a good deal if it's really discounted. That's the first. So check yourself if it's really a discounted article. Don't be overwhelmed and bewitched by the numbers that you see, the discount numbers. Double check if it's really discounted. Don't be overwhelmed and bewitched. Keep yourself cool. Take distance from these discounts. And the next question that follows out of it, if you're in a period and you want to budget, do you really need these discounted articles? By always looking for the chase of discounts, you probably spend a lot more than you have anticipated. And the question again, is it really necessary? Also, some of these people, the group of these people will buy in bulk, because this card is also about bulk buying. You need to ask yourself, if you buy in bulk, some articles will expire at the end of the month, of the end of 2 months. And then you catch yourself again for giving it to your sister, your brother, or your neighbors. This card asks you, was this really a discount? Even though you have a good heart, but was this really necessary? Or could you have saved money and give your heart in a different way? This is what this card asks you. It asks you not to overflow your house with items that only accumulate, that get dust on it, and later on you will bring them to recycling, or you will throw away, or you will give them away. So this card asks you to ignore, offer discount and liquidations, and to improve your wallet. So, Leo, this is all for the month of August 2021. I hope you get some wisdom out of this card laying. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for doing so, and see you maybe next time. Bye bye for now.